So I was just on the phone with a friend of mine, and I asked him, how is my brothers and sisters in diaspora Jewry, that's Jews that live outside of the land of Israel, how are they doing? And he said to me, the fixation around here is all about the hostages. We're even taking like 15, 20 minutes to pray just about the hostages, the release of the hostages. And I said to him, how come we're always praying for the release of the hostages? What about making sure that it never happens again, right? Destroying the bad guys, praying that we can be tough and strong and make sure that there's not one kid studying books that have jihadism in it, and that we evict and destroy jihadism from our land and make sure that it never happens again. We're always just totally fixated and focused on the issue of these hostages. And we even do things that'll ensure that hostages happen again, because we release would-be hostage takers, just like we did with the Gilad Shalit deal, right? So we're doing that all the time, but we're not thinking about, like, what about the next hostage? We're not ensuring, make sure it never happens again. Everybody should know that Israel will never stand for one hostage being taken. We'll destroy all those people who even consider doing such a thing. Why aren't we thinking about that, praying about that? And I actually answered it for him. And I said to him, there's something with the Jewish people. The fixation on the hostages is actually a psychological need. The biggest problem that the Jewish people in the diaspora and in Israel have, we don't want to govern. We don't want to rule. We don't want to be the sovereign. We don't want to be the boss. We don't want to tell other people what to do. We don't want to be tough on the bad guys and make sure that they comply. All kinds of peoples living in our land comply with the laws of this country. We rather let them do their thing, because we are not a people of governance and sovereignty and rule. We are a ghetto people. We're a people who feel that the best way we can express ourselves is to show that we're victims. We are victims, and we live in a ghetto. And the only reason we have a right here is because we've been abused. And the hostages is a perfect way to describe that psychological condition. It's like, you see, we have hostages. They've hurt us. We don't want to say, hey, they got hostages. We got to never let this happen again. We got to govern and make sure. We got to govern Gaza. We got to govern the Negev. We got to govern the north. We got to govern Judea and Samaria and ensure that there's not one bit of jihadism in our land. No. That's uncomfortable. That's Jewish power. We don't want to have Jewish power. There's even a party named Jewish Power. That's wrong. We're not like that, because we're actually ghetto Jews, weak Jews, victim Jews. Certainly don't want to rule other people. In Israel, you'll hear people say things like, we don't want to rule another people. We don't want to rule other people. I always say to them, why not? All powers rule other people. And I say to them, there's 3,000, social scientists say there's 3,000 nations in this world, but there's only 193 countries. That means somebody's ruling somebody, right? That's just the way it is. All these are not like super democratic, everybody's in on this country kind of country. These are a lot of times nation states, so they rule other nationalities, other nations. That's just normal. You got to be ready when you're a sovereign back in your land after 2,000 years of being dispossessed. You got to decolonialize your mind and be ready to take possession. You were dispossessed. You got to possess. And you got to, yes, control other nations. You got to govern and rule and make sure there's rule of law, your law. But all these Jews here in the land of Israel, in the diaspora, they're like in the ghetto mindset. And I spoke to a friend of mine who literally told me that she just wishes that the international community would recognize us as victims as well. And I was like, that is your thing? That's what you want? You want people to recognize you as a victim? That's your thing? That's how you define yourself? That's what your problem with the international community is that they don't see you as a victim? What kind of weakness is that? What kind of like personal, like, what kind of like psychological condition is that? A problem with your ego and self-confidence, and you've got some kind of problem. Instead of wanting to be like big, bold, beautiful, badass, holding on to your land, making sure that nobody rises up in your land to hurt your people. Govern, be sovereign, rule, and thereby actually ensure more decency and opportunity for more people. When you crush the jihad, you actually liberate tons of people. We could be a liberation nation. But the problem is, we got to liberate ourselves first. We got to get out of that ghetto mentality and that victim mentality and learn to be strong again with pride. And by the way, P.S., people will respect you. They'll respect you when you stand up for yourself, when you're not like, please recognize me as a victim. Forget that. Yeah, you got to pray for the hostages, but pray for our army to be strong, for our government to be strong, for us to rule and govern other peoples and excise jihadism and Israel hate and Nazism from our land and from around our borders. That's what we should be praying for. A strong Israel, a big Israel, a healthy Israel, a psychologically healthy Israel. Hashem, please give us strength. God, please give us strength in our hearts to get out of ghetto mentality and decolonialize our mind and our heart. God bless you folks wherever you are. Stay tuned. Stay part of the story. Please like, subscribe, comment, become a member, and check out the links below to support our programming. When you support our programming, you're supporting Jewish strength and pride that comes through Jewish identity, a love of God, a love of our Bible, and a love of being back in our land, that gift of sovereignty and rule that God has given us in our time. God bless you folks wherever you are. Lots of love and shalom.